Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you have all had a wonderful day. Let's talk books. So today's video is everything I read in January. It has been a little while coming, I'm afraid. I completely forgot, if I'm honest. By the time February rolled around, I was so interested in the books that I'd put down for my February reads that I completely forgot to update you on how January's ones went. So yeah, we're going to talk about all the books I read in January. So the first one I finished was The Winter Killer by Alex Pine. This was on my December TBR and I think I finished it literally a couple of days into January, so I probably could have counted it in December. I might have even done in my books I read in 2023, I can't remember. But yes, this one is one that I finished first. It wasn't as great as his other books, in my opinion. The other two I really enjoyed, especially his first one. I liked that one, I think, probably the most. But again, I didn't see it coming. I didn't know who done it. I tried to guess. And yeah, got it horrifically wrong. The person didn't even actually cross my mind. So that's when you know that you've got a good thriller, is that your reader can't guess. Other people might be able to, I didn't. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely worth a read. It's basically, his books follow D.I. James Walker, and he lives in the Cotswolds, I want to say. No, Northumbria. Ignore that. I'm thinking of, who else am I thinking of that lives in the Cotswolds? I'm thinking of Agatha Raisin. She lives in the Cotswolds. But yes, so he lives in Northumbria, and this year on New Year's Eve, he gets a phone call to say that the bride's sister has disappeared, and then they find a body. But yeah, it was really good. I gave it 3 stars because I didn't love it as much as the others, but I would definitely read it again, so it will stay on my shelves. So there's that. Next up, I don't know whether to... I'll go through the ones I plan to read first because I think that's going to be easier. Yeah, so obviously that one was one that I was reading in December. The first one that I planned to read, which was my book of the month, was Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. This follows Sophie, who lives in a quiet little village, and Billy, an actor from Hollywood, comes and kind of turns her world upside down, and it's about how they navigate their relationship with him being obviously famous and rising to fame, and kind of how Sophie copes with that as well. There were parts of it that I felt a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I'd have behaved in the same way. I'd have probably been slightly more crazy. But it was a good book. I really enjoyed it. I did give it, let me have a quick look. I gave it 4 stars, and my plan was to pick up the next one straight away. I think that's always with love. But I didn't get around to it in the end. But I know I'm enjoying a romance when I have to skip to the end to find out if they're still together. Because otherwise I can't continue reading. I was like that when I read Page Toons One Summer. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I feel like it, no, I can't remember. It's one I read a while ago and I absolutely loved it. I don't know why the name isn't coming to me, but I adored it, and I couldn't continue reading. I was so upset because I was like, I need to know if they're going to be together or not. Otherwise, I'm just not going to bother reading it. So I had to skip to the end because the inner turmoil was just too much. So I did that with this one, and I did ruin part of the story for myself. So when I got to that point, I don't think my reaction was probably as like genuine as it would have been if I just continued reading. But I know what I'm like with a romance. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wanted to pick up the second one straight away, and I just haven't got around to it yet. So hopefully at some point this year, because it's not actually on my 50 books to read this year. So sorry, cat, not this cat. other cat. But yeah, so it's not on my 50 books to read off my shelves this year, so hopefully I will get to it. I would like to put out a little disclaimer and say that this month I still had my Kindle Unlimited subscription, so a lot of the books I actually read this month are off of that, not just off my shelf. But yeah, there's that. Next up, I read the complete Peter Rabbit and Friends story collection. I gave this 3 stars. It was really cute and sweet, and it did remind me of when I was a child. But some of the stories in there were weird. I'm trying to think of which one it is. I think it's possibly, where are we? The Tale of Pigling Bland was particularly odd, and The Tale of Mr. Todd was very bizarre. What is this bit of hair doing? What is it? I keep tucking it, but it keeps reappearing. Yeah, so there were a couple of stories in there that I actually found really quite odd, and I didn't think they were particularly child-friendly, but I don't know if that's actually what Beatrix Potter set out to do. But yeah, it was cute, it was sweet. I know for a fact I'm not going to hang on to this book. I have other stories that I read as a child that I absolutely adore and would pass on if I ever have children. So yeah, I'm happy to pass this book on. So there's that. Right, then next up, I did plan on reading The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and then I realised that it was actually one of the books that Nikki had given me a number for as one of my Book of the Month books. So it has gone back onto my shelf as one of the books to read later on in the year. So I didn't read that one. Then the other one I don't have to show you, but I will insert a picture here, is... what is it? House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. Yes, by Crystal Sutherland. I read it and I had a few people recommend it and say, oh, it was really good. They really enjoyed it. Oh, I hated it. And I was really sad about the fact I didn't enjoy it. But it wasn't that long a book. I think it was only like 280 pages maybe. And oh, did I force myself through those pages, because I was like, oh, it's going to get good in a minute. Like, it's going to get to the bit where everybody else really enjoyed it. And I was just kind of like, it's not coming. Like, when's it going to happen? And the ending for me felt really flat and I just didn't love it. I've got to be honest, I gave it 2 stars. I was really sad. But I know when I spoke to a couple of people that did recommend it, they were kind of like, you know, there were different draws for both of us. So, you know, different things that we found interesting, different things we didn't. So I think if she did send out a second book, I would probably read it to kind of see if it gives a backstory to anybody else. But yeah, I didn't love it. I was real sad about it. So yeah, if you loved it, please let me know why in the comment section down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because it just didn't stick for me. There was a part of it that I wanted more from, so I'm kind of hoping that if she does do a second book, I would get more from that character. But yeah, it fell super, super flat for me. I didn't love it. Second book I didn't love was Love in the Time of Serial Killers. And I can tell you now, I was really excited about this book. Like, super excited about this book. Mainly the cover drew me in, but I did think that the storyline on the back sounded really good. Oh, it was so boring. I actually DNF'd it. And that's me being nice about it. I pushed through. I reckon I definitely got over halfway through. And you know when you're just sat there and you're reading a book and nothing has happened, I was kind of like, I can't read it anymore. I am going to hit myself over the head with it. I can't read it anymore. So I did DNF it. I have no idea what the ending was. I did read a couple of Goodreads reviews, like with spoilers afterwards. And I honestly don't feel like I missed anything. A lot of the reviews people gave, yeah, I don't feel like I missed anything at all. And I have to be honest, so the main character, Phoebe was kind of irritating. And she was writing a dissertation on like serial killers, and there were different books and different serial killers and things mentioned. And I think they must have been American serial killers because they are in America. And I didn't get the references, and some of them I did, like Ted Bundy, I knew, and the guy with the cult, Charles Manson, is that right? Yeah, those two I'd heard of, I knew little bits and bobs about, but I feel like this was kind of an information dumpy kind of book. Like she wanted to talk about serial killers, and she heavily dumped a load of information in there, and I didn't love it at all, and I DNF'd it heavily very quickly. Same with House of Hollow. I didn't DNF it, but I listed it on my Vinted and it sold basically instantly. And I can't tell you how glad I was that that wasn't in my house anymore. This one is also up there if anyone is interested, and I've talked it up and you want to give it a go. It's on there, I think it's only like £2. But yeah, I was disappointed. I didn't love it. I think it's one of them cutesy kind of romancy books where eventually something happens, but it wasn't quick enough for me. I don't like a romance that happens right at the end. I like a bit of romance the whole way through, and maybe they decide that they're together at the end, or we have like romance the whole way through, some blip happens and we rekindle the love at the end. I don't like a romance that is basically nothing until the end. So yeah, there's that. And then finally, of physical books, I finished finally Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This actually didn't take me as long to read as Prisoner of Azkaban did, and it's easily triple the size. It's not dinner time. He's just looking at me, waiting. Now he's licking himself. But yeah, it took me less time to read than Prisoner of Azkaban did. And I really enjoyed this book. I have to say, of my reread so far of the series, this is probably my favourite one so far because so much happens. And there were so many bits in this that I'd forgotten happened that don't happen at all in the films. That it's been a joy to reread them, because I think I read them over a summer when I was about 15 or 16. So I haven't read them in at least 12 years. God, that makes me sound really old. But I have really, really been loving them. And yeah, this was a firm fave. There is a lady on Instagram, you might have seen her. I want to say her name's Kiera Lewis. I could be butchering that, but she is reading the Harry Potter books and watching the films after she's read them for the first time ever. She's the same age as I am. And she's never read them before, never watched the films before. And her reactions to some of the stuff that happens are absolutely golden. So I highly recommend you go over there and you check her out because she is so funny. And yeah, she's really good. So yeah, this is the last physical book I read. So sadly, take it back. I read, not including the Alex Pine one, because technically that was last year. 1, 2, 3. I read 4 books off my shelves in January. Obviously, I did declutter House of Hollow. I'm not counting this one because it is a declutter. But I read 4. So I'd say that's pretty good. I did have an extra book that I'd put on my 50 books to read. So I think it was like 51 in the end. Oh, excuse me. So I think that's fine. I'll read that and then that'll kind of take the place of this one. But in general, if I do declutter moving forward, I am just going to try and pick up another one off my shelves at some point and read it, so that it kind of keeps up my 50 books off my shelves. So yeah, there's those. Now, as I said, I still had my Kindle Unlimited subscription, and boy did I make use of it last month. So come then. We can say hello to everybody. Say hi. No. So yeah, last year I read what's the name of them? The Vicious Lost Boys series by Nikki St. Crow. And I absolutely loved them, fully adored them. They were great. They're full on smut. So this year, when I got my Kindle Unlimited subscription, because I liked the author and I really enjoyed the storyline that kind of went along with the smut, I chose to read her Hot Vampire Next Door series. And more fool me, because I thought they were all out. They're not, which was really sad, because I read they're done in seasons. So I read like season 1, 2, 3 and 4, and season 5 isn't due to come out yet. So I'd kind of season 4 had a cliffhanger, and I was mightily upset when I found out that it wasn't out yet. You can read it on her like Patreon page, but you obviously have to pay for that. And I kind of felt, as I was already paying for my Kindle Unlimited subscription, I didn't want to do another kind of unnecessary purchase and subscribe to her Patreon. So I have no idea how it ends. Please don't tell me. Because she was releasing it on her Patreon in like 30-page sections. So you could kind of read it weekly if you were one of her subscribers already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for that one to come out, because I am waiting on a couple of other books to come out on Kindle Unlimited. So when I find out that Hot Vampire Next Door season 5 comes out, I will just read it then. But I did give the series 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. The smut was delightful. So yeah, it was a good read. I enjoyed them. Next up, I read 3 books by Molly Doyle. Again, smut. So there is Melt for Us, Scream for Us and Bloodshed. I gave them all 5 stars because I really enjoyed them. Melt for Us and Scream for Us were novellas. So Scream for Us was the Halloween one, and Melt for Us is like the Christmas one that she did. And it follows our sort of main protagonist and 4 gentlemen. And I didn't know it would be my vibe, but clearly from reading Vicious Lost Boys, it's definitely my vibe. But she's bringing out her second book after Bloodshed soon, so that's another one I'm waiting for. But the only thing that really bothered me with the books, if you read them, is that when you read Bloodshed, Scream for Us is basically in Bloodshed. So don't pay for it. If you're not going to get Kindle Unlimited, I don't recommend buying Scream for Us as a separate novella, because you do get majority of it in Bloodshed with the like male perspective as well. So I didn't really get that for me. So I'd already read Scream for Us by the time I'd got to Bloodshed. So I kind of skipped through some of the bits that I'd already read. But yeah, so just don't buy it separately. I highly recommend getting a Kindle Unlimited subscription if you want to try a bit of smut. But yeah, it's up to you. The other one I was waiting for that I was going to mention is like the 3rd part of Haunting Adeline. It's like Where's Molly, I think. And I think that is actually out today, but because I'm waiting on the other ones, I'm not going to resubscribe for Kindle Unlimited just yet. But yeah, they are all the books that I read in January. I did read a couple of other smut ones. I think they were little novellas. And you know when you're reading them and the ending is just horrendous. I can't remember what the title was or the author now, because I didn't write them down, because I think it was only like 60 pages, and I got to the end and I was just like, that was crap, like utterly crap. So I'm not even deigning to put it in my reading journal because it was so bad. But basically the book I read there's like a trucker, and he's looking for like his dream woman, and he kidnaps this woman, and then stuff happens in the back of his like lorry cab, and then it kind of gets weirder and weirder, and then you find out that they've actually been together the whole time, and it's like he's fulfilling one of her fantasies. I just didn't vibe for me. I didn't like it. I did not like it. There were parts of it that I didn't like the whole way along, but when I got to the ending and it was like completely consensual, it kind of threw off the rest of the story, if that makes sense, like the way it was leading. And I get that's the point, is that, you know, you can fulfill these very widespread fantasies whilst it being completely consensual. But it kind of, some of the comments that he made when we didn't know it was consensual were weird. So yeah, I didn't like it at all. I didn't put it in my reading journal because I didn't like it. But yeah, there are all the books I read. Let's have a quick count up, because I did not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I read 12 books in January. I'm pretty proud of myself. Obviously, some of those were novellas, so I don't want you to think I'm doing super well, because some of them were only like 160 pages. But they were really good. The books I read, bar the 2 I've mentioned, were really good. I had a great reading month in January. Spoiler alert, February has not gone entirely to plan. So I will update you on that in about a week or so. But yeah, it hasn't gone to plan. Wish me luck. What's the date today? We are on the 17th. I have 11 days to go. Wish me some serious luck, please. But yeah, so there are all the books I read. If you have any thoughts, feelings, opinions you want to share, please do so in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you're thinking. But yeah, that is everything I've read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.